Well, greetings to you. Do you believe that mass immigration to our country is an existential threat to our way of life, to our institutions, to everything we hold dear? I do. And I believe it's being carried out quite deliberately by people who wish this country harm. This has nothing to do with gangs in Calais or northern France or anywhere else. This is a deliberate ploy by government, all governments, to bring people in, to give them preferential health care, to give them four-star accommodation, so on and so forth, and pocket money. So don't let's all be fooled by this business that it's perhaps all some sort of ghastly accident that can be put right overnight, because it can't. Now, if you, like me, do believe it's an existential threat, and you are a patriot, and indeed you are a supporter perhaps of Reform Party, and indeed of perhaps Restore, or maybe the new combination between Restore and Advance UK, which is quite possible. And it's you I'm really addressing. You are patriotic, your heart is in the right place, but it's easy to fall for blandishments and promises that really can't be kept. Now, just looking at my political background, I'm not really a politician. I never was really a politician. I joined UKIP years ago and finished as an independent because I believed in restoring our parliamentary democracy and constitutional monarchy. And that's what I believed in, and that's what dragged me into politics. So I actually have seen politics from inside, from the belly of the beast, if you will. Now, most people haven't, because most people aren't that interested in politics. Or certainly party politics. And that's understandable, because neither was I until I was on the Brexit trail. And that started with me in the late 1980s. And we worked and worked and worked, and actually cost me quite a lot of money because the party didn't have any money, and we all had to put our hands in our pockets. And we worked very, very hard and long in order to get a referendum whether we remained or not. All of a sudden, then Johnny Latecomers came in and pretended they were in favour of it all along. Most of them were fraudulent, people like Boris Johnson, and most of them open Remainers, like most of the Conservative Party, Labour Party, Liberal Democrats, the Civil Service, the House of Lords, and Uncle Tom Cobley and all. So it was a big call. It was a big call, but we got the referendum. We won the referendum, but of course we didn't get Brexit. We got what some people call Breno. We withdrew our MEPs. And we withdrew our commissioners. But we didn't unwind all the ridiculous legislation, which was the promise that we would do, and change things and do cost-benefit analysis on a lot of the regulations that had gone through, so on and so forth. So all we really did, we didn't get Brexit. We withdrew our MEPs and our commissioners, and everything else was static. And of course, then we had the Boris Johnson, the Boris Bulge, which is called now an immigration, because Boris Johnson, of course, as we all know now, is a charlatan for many, many reasons, not just that. So we know he's a wrong 'un. In fact, we really know, do we not, that most politicians are wrong 'uns, aren't they? Because they lie and lie and lie. Now, what I want you to ponder, you patriots out there, and I know that most of you, certainly my subscribers, are patriots. What you've got to ponder is who can deliver this. So it took years and years, decades and decades to get us out of the European Union, and we still haven't really got it, because you're fighting the civil service, you're fighting deep state, you're fighting the establishment. We've got to consider who can do that best. Now, here we have on the Reform side a party which is heavily loaded with the failed politicians of the last administration, the Conservative Party. Some of those Conservatives, their heart is in the right place and they're not too bad of people. One or two are really bad people, are not nice people at all. And of course, it started off with Reform not believing and being quite upfront about not having any form of mass repatriation. They don't believe in it. And they smelt the political breeze, and now they decided that they do believe in that, or do they? We don't really know, do we? Now we have Restore, which has come forward with a cast iron manifesto that they are going to lock, stock and barrel repatriate people, not just people who are here illegally, people who are here also who are either criminal or part of the rape gangs or part of whatever you want to call them. These are some of the problems that we have. We can't just send back a few. We've got to really clear the stables. We've got to clear it all out. We've got people who are not here with good intent. And it needs a plan. And in the old days in the army, and I know a lot of my subscribers were ex-army, you had to have a concept of operations. And the concept of operations now has been brought out by Restore, which is, I think, is a 100-page document, is to say, we're going to do this and this is how we're going to do it. Now, this is where you have to ponder very carefully. The problem that we have is, how can this be done? We couldn't get, even with a mass referendum, we couldn't get Brexit done. We only got a fake Brexit because everybody is fake. Nearly everybody is fake. So they talk a good story to get elected or save their seats in some cases, but it's not really what we want. If you believe we have an existential threat, as indeed I do. So who can deliver it, given the fact it's going to be in the teeth of civil service opposition, possibly mainstream media opposition and everybody else? So yet again, the country will want one thing. The country wants this over. We want it swept out. We want the hotels swept out. We want these people who are illegal to go home. We want to close these hotels. We want to sort it all out. And there's no room for equivocation, because I would argue we only have one chance. We are not going to get a second chance. And we slung the last lot out, the Conservatives, because they were bloody useless. And in came, by default, this next lot, which were even worse. And of course, I don't expect most of us didn't think it could be any worse. The question is, you've got to ask yourself, and this is what you're going to have to ponder in the coming months, who is really genuinely committed to go through with this mass repatriation, which is going to be, if we're going to save the country as we know it, and I expect many of us love, warts and all, how are we going to do it? Are these people really committed, or are they telling a good story politically in order to get themselves elected, but with no real reason? Now, how do you judge this? How do you judge if they're telling the truth? Well, have a look at some of the track records. Who has been saying something from the start? They want mass repatriation. Have they been saying that from the start? Do they want to do things from the very beginning? Is it a conviction point of view, or one that blows in the breeze? That's something that only you can answer by looking at these matters. So I counsel you so to do. Have a good long think, because we're not going to get a second chance. If you hear somebody talking about, well, the first thing we've got to do is repeal the European Court of Human Rights. If they are, that is prevarication. That isn't commitment. That isn't conviction. There's always going to find a reason to not do something. And my problem with some people in the political game is that they're not committed. They're not committed. They're talking a good story in order to save their seats and to keep their neb end into politics. I don't really believe them. And you can only judge people by their track record. Who really believes it? And we've got to come together and to do this. Otherwise, it's not going to work. I counsel you to do this. Don't squabble amongst yourselves. I would argue that get a grip of it. Think about it, because we haven't got long. Tick tock, time is running out, and illegals are coming in their thousands. Easy to stop the boats. It's easy to stop the boats, because somebody comes in with a bottle to actually mobilise the Royal Navy and send out the patrols to tow them back, in spite of the teeth of maybe global hostility or hostility from the French and anybody else. I don't care. You've got to have somebody who actually says, I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to do this. I mean business. Not ifs and buts and, well, and perhaps we get a majority and then we've got to get it through the House of Lords and all this kind of thing. This is not going to work. It's going to be just, as Winston Churchill would say, or used to memo, addendums to memos, to say, action this day. We must have a political party which is coming into power, which is action this day. No equivocation, if necessary. If it is blocked, and it will be blocked by the civil service, not only do you have to have mass repatriation, you have to have mass sackings of the civil service. Every man jack of them must go, and these departments must be run on that basis, ruthlessly. Otherwise, it's going to be too late, and we still might not see mass repatriation. I'm an old man now, in my lifetime, and I think that's an extremely sad thing to see our country go down, and we've done it to ourselves. And that's a terrible thing. We've done it to ourselves. How did we get here? I'm still pondering how this happened. But it has happened. And it's time to take our jackets off and get into the fight. As most of you know, my work is very heavily independently research based.
and I get my information from all over the world. It would help if you press the subscribe button and the little bell next to it, because the more subscribers I have, the more likely it is that international independent research institutes will share their material with me. It's most helpful, and then of course I automatically share it with you. So, surprise, won't cost you anything. Thank you very much.